Now we have the story of William Tull to be told at the Justice Center. We are in the Boulder Justice Center parking lot. If you come on our regular tour, we come here and we talk about the first white settlers who came to this area. Captain Thomas Aiken and his 15 men came here from Omaha looking for gold in 1858. And they discovered it in 1859. The first person to meet them when they came here was Chief Niwot, rather famous name around here. We have a town named after him, statues of Chief Niwot around town. And Chief Niwot died in what we know today as the Santa Creek Massacre, which I mentioned earlier. Now, one of the other people who was at Santa Creek with the Arapaho people who were there, but was not killed, was a white man who had been raised by the Arapaho named William Tull. And after the Sand Creek Massacre, William Tull decided he was going to live in white society, came back to Boulder. He got a job on a ranch in North Boulder owned by a man named James Tortolet. And for 3 years or so, he works pretty hard for James Tortolet, and he'd earn some time off. And whenever he got the chance, he would see his Arapaho friends. He missed the people he was raised with. And so he had earned some time off. So he asked his boss if he could take a couple of horses and go visit his friends, the Southern Arapaho people, who he knew to be camped up on the Cashlaputa River west of Fort Collins. And so Tortolet says, yeah, you can take 2 horses, but you got to be back in 10 days. So off he goes with the 2 horses, one to ride, the other for provisions. And he stops in Longmont for food and such, and he heads up there. And, well, he's gone for 10 days, and after 10 days, he's not back. And after 11 days, he's not back. And after 12 days, he's still not back. And now the word starts to go around town about this. And there were probably 2 things you didn't want to be back in the 1860s, even in Boulder, which back then was not the bastion of guilty white liberalism that it is today. One of those was probably a horse thief, and the other an Indian lover. And it appears that William Tull was now both. So a posse was formed, and the posse went out looking for him. They went up to and found Tull with the Arapaho people west of Fort Collins. And the chief there told the posse that that Tull's horses had just run off with his tribe's horses. And they just come back. And Tull was just about to leave to go back to Boulder. Well, I don't know if that story is true or not, but the posse wasn't buying it. So they grab William Tull, they bring him back to Boulder. There was no jail yet, so they locked him in a room over the locksmith shop on Pearl Street. But now the word starts to go around town that this Indian lover and horse thief is in this room over the jail with just one man guarding it. So an angry mob goes over there in the middle of the night. They drag William Tull out of the blacksmith shop. They bring him over here by Boulder Creek, a couple of blocks up actually from where we are now, near Broadway. They throw a rope up over a big cottonwood tree like the one we're parked under, and they hang William Tull. But they don't do a very good job of it. And instead of being killed instantly by the hanging, his feet drag barely on the ground, and he's choked to death, making this awful noise. Ah, ah, ah. And he dies slowly and painfully. Well, that's not the last that people have seen of William Tull near the Boulder Creek. In the 1940s, a judge is walking along the creek one night. He looks up ahead, and he sees a man, an image actually of a man hanging from a tree. And as he gets closer, he sees the man is pointing to the rope around his neck. His feet are dragging. He's choking. But when he gets closer, the image disappears. Other people walking along the creek at night have seen something similar, but instead of it hanging, they hear footsteps next to them. They hear footsteps in the dirt, and they look, they see a man with a hood on his head, rope around his neck, making the choking noise, pointing to the rope around his neck. But when they get closer, there's no face inside the hood. So, if you're walking along the Boulder Creek path one night, enjoying the beautiful moonlight, keep an eye out. You may encounter William Tull, Boulder's first and only lynching victim.